Hey, if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, you may be missing these 3 steps that will lead you to greater impact and greater income. So if that interests you, keep listening. Hi there, I'm Joe Sova. This is the Joe Sova Business Show. So excited you're here because we're going to talk about some steps, some concrete steps you can take to increase your income, increase your impact, and live your purpose today. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? So if that's what you want to do, keep listening because we're going to dive into that. And this is all about creating the first steps in your leadership mindset as a business owner. All right. As a small business, as an entrepreneur, leadership mindset, you may or may not realize this yet, but leadership mindset is what separates those who are 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure earners with those who don't quite make it. Right. The SBA estimates that 1 out of 3 businesses don't make it past 2 years. Right. That's a staggering statistic. 1 out of 3. If you're in a room and there's 3 of you with friends that own businesses, 1 of you isn't making it in just 2 years. All right. That's a scary feeling. So this is actually what separates those who make it from those who don't. All right. There's a common thought process that you just have to work harder to make it, right? If I put in more effort, I will achieve more results. And that will get you so far. But as you're noticing, probably in your own business, it only gets you so far. It does not take you over into the next level, right? So if you've made $100,000 by pure grind and hustle and doing everything within your business, right? Doing the emails and the graphic design and the accounting and the sales and the customer service and everything, there's only so much of you to go, right? You can't double that simply by doubling your effort, right? Eventually, it leads to diminishing returns and burnout and resentment. And what I call disconnected from your vision, from your business, right? You're a disconnected visionary at that point where you no longer feel that drive, that purpose behind the reason you started in the first place. All right. And that happened to me. I speak here from experience. I've had my own business for nearly 12 years. I've worked one-to-one with entrepreneurs for nearly 20 years. All right. So I've seen a lot of this, and that exhaustion sooner or later catches up to everybody. All right. None of us are immune to, the common phrase out there is burnout. I don't particularly like that, but it is true. All right. Sooner or later, it catches up, and we need to find a different way. Right. It's the famous phrase, right? What got us here, wherever here may be, maybe it's 100,000, maybe it's 200,000, whatever it is, will not get us there. And there is your goals and your vision. Maybe that's mid 6 figures. Maybe that's 7 figures. Maybe that's beyond. Right? Whatever the impact, the income, and the freedom that you dream of, that reason you started your business in the first place, you will find is achievable when you create a leadership mindset. Now, if you're not sure what that means, or maybe if you have a preconceived notion of what a leadership mindset is, all right, go listen to my other episode on this where I define what that means and why it's important. I'll give you the brief version here. Is that our mindset creates our business, all right? So what we think we need to do in our business, do we think we need to focus on all the little things and do the $5 an hour tasks, right? If I'm doing this, I need to do it because I do it better and quicker and faster than anybody else, right? That's one mindset. I have to do it, right? Or I have to answer the questions. The employee or your team might ask you, hey, what do you want me to do here? And I have to answer that question or it doesn't get done. That's one type of mindset. A leadership mindset is, how can I make this efficient? How can I make this where I'm focusing on my zone of genius, what lights me up, the parts of the business I love, because that is ultimately what's going to drive the business forward. Okay, so that's a leadership mindset. Very different than managing. Right? Managing people is very, very different than leading, because whether you realize it yet or not, you're leading. As an entrepreneur, you are a leader. You're doing something that most people do not have the guts. They do not have the courage, and they do not have the will to make happen. You made it happen as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. You're doing something out of the norm. That's leading. That's leading already. And so you are a leader. Now, you probably feel inside you that you have even more to give. The fact that you're listening to this episode, the fact that you're hearing my voice now means that inside you have more, right? Because that's what we talk about here, is finding ways to create more in our business without more hard work and grind and effort. Okay, that's part of it, especially in the beginning. Where you're at as a business now, there's another level, and that comes from leadership mindset. All right. So what happens is most people start off with a do-it-yourself mindset, what I call the do or die mindset, where you do it or your business dies, all right? We need to shift that into leadership mindset. And when you do that, that's when things take off. That's when it exponentially increases your revenue, your income, your impact, your freedom, everything you've always wanted, everything you're looking for. That's when that happens, all right? Now, that's exciting, isn't it? All right, and we can do that here. So the first steps to creating this leadership mindset really starts with number one, looking at where you're at. Okay, so you can get a map. Let's say you're on a road trip, and I can give you a map of New York City, but if you don't know where you're starting at, it doesn't matter, does it? Right? If you're in Los Angeles and I give you a map of New York, it does you no good. You need a map. You need to understand where you're at so that you can say, okay, I don't need a map of New York. I need a map of Los Angeles to New York. Okay. So figuring out where you're at today is step number one in creating a leadership mindset, right? You've got to look at your day-to-day, look at what you're doing, look at how you're approaching it, and looking at where your focus is at. Because if you're focused on doing the little tasks, if you're focused on micromanaging things in your business, right? It's hilarious. I love it because if you interview, I've done a lot of interviews and I've helped people do a lot of interviews, all right? Hiring is something that comes natural for me. And I've got an entire process that I work with my one-to-one clients on that. But if you ask any candidate, anybody who's looking for a position, a job, and if you ask anybody who is hiring, anybody who's doing the interviewing, they both will say, we don't like micromanaging. Right? You as an entrepreneur are probably like, I don't want to manage people because I don't want to micromanage and have to tell them what to do. Yet, in our business, we tend to micromanage everything, right? It has to be done this way. My way is the best way. If I want it done right, I do it myself. That's micromanaging yourself in your business, isn't it? Right? And yet we say, I don't want anything to do with micromanaging. Yeah, we get caught up in that. All right. So we've got to look at our day-to-day. That's step one in creating a leadership mindset. Where are you at today when it comes to your business, right? If you're at a CEO level, maybe that's different than if you're doing all the stuff, but most of us get caught down here. Even if our title is CEO or president or owner or whatever you want to say, you're still probably doing some of the accounting or HR work or graphic design or sales or customer service or tech support, whatever it is. We get caught in all of that. So look at your day-to-day and figure out what you're doing. I've got a great exercise in my coaching that I do with clients where we go through and we analyze day by day exactly what you're doing. And it's amazing. It's mind-blowing where entrepreneurs don't even realize, like, wow, I thought I had more time doing X, but I'm spending all my time doing Y. All right. So we have to figure out where you're at today in order to get to where you want to go tomorrow, which brings us to step two. All right. Step two is, what do you want? All right, I'm going to say that again because it's so simple yet profound, as you'll notice when you hear it again. What do you want? Sit with that. Be still with that. Absorb that. Feel into that. And understand that it is your decision. You've created a business and you get to create that business however you decide. Step one, we looked at what we're doing day to day. Step two, we recognize maybe we're not quite doing what we imagined. Maybe we think that I have to do it this way, or my business won't survive, or people will think this, or people will judge me that. Let me ask, what do you want? And what would happen if you weren't doing all those things? Right? Somebody who's doing what they don't want, that's the definition of a corporate job, right? A 9-to-5, somebody telling you what to do. That's why you're not doing that. That's why you're an entrepreneur in the first place, is because you wanted freedom to decide what you can do. So take that freedom and allow yourself to ask and answer. What do I want? What do I want my days to look like? What is my vision? Where do I want to go with this? Do I want to keep all the stuff on my plate, or do I want to delegate that off so that I can accelerate my business? That's the key here. That's step two. All right. So step one, look at where you're at. Step two, look at where you want to go. Step three is simple. All right. We're here now at step three. And when talking about leadership mindset, all right, it's it's often thought that, hey, if I'm working on my mindset, it's all up here in the clouds, but you'll find it's actually concrete action, taking specific planned approach to making that dream, that step 2 that we just did, a reality, right? So what I'm saying is you'll find there needs to be a balance. You've got to have the plan in place, and you also have to execute the plan. There's 2 parts to this, right? There's understand where your mindset is at, and then using that mindset to create a plan of action, concrete step-by-step action plan, small bite-sized chunks that lead to your goal. And if you're not doing that now, you're just all over the place like most entrepreneurs. That's a risk. That's a danger. That's a recipe for disaster, because when the unknown happens, which it happens every day, right? The phone rings, an email comes in, a message alerts us. Now we're off course, right? The airline pilot needs a charted course, and they need to follow that in order to get to their destination. The same is true with your business, right? You need to figure out where you're going. We did that. We also need a specific flight plan to get there, right? And take that action, right? Another piece of that most people miss, and I was this way for a long time, but is the accountability. As entrepreneurs, who are we accountable to? Usually it's ourselves. Now, you probably realize it takes a massive amount of discipline to be accountable to yourself and hold yourself accountable, right? Now, if you were learning to bake a cake, you'd probably want a professional chef there, or at least a somebody to overlook your cake making skills if you needed to do that as a way to survive professionally, right? Or if you're practicing your 3-pointer in basketball, right? It would probably help to have somebody there to bounce ideas off of, or to hold you accountable. Hey, did you do your reps today? Right? Personal trainers. That's why that entire industry exists. The gym equipment's there, right? You can find YouTube videos all day long on how to use it. Personal trainers exist to hold you accountable, right? And so that's the piece that's often missed in taking action. We need to take action, and we need to make sure we're accountable to that action going the right direction. All right. So that's all about leadership mindset, is look where you're at, decide what you want, right? Some people want to hold on to all the stuff. They want to be that solopreneur who stays right here on this level. Okay, cool. If you're somebody who's serious about getting to that next level, maybe it's at mid 6 figures, maybe it's 7 figures, maybe it's higher, right? Then decide that my leadership mindset needs to be on, how do I focus on what drives my company to that level, right? What do I need to do within my business in order to get there? Because doing all the little things that got me to, this place I am now is not going to get me there. We all recognize that at this point. Am I right? So understand where you want to go, and then how to get there. Take that plan of action to get there, with the accountability be built in to that. All right. Now, knowing and understanding the steps to leadership mindset is a huge part of the battle, right? That's a huge part of what we do day in and day out. Okay. There's likely more to this holding us back. Okay. If you're somebody who has struggled with being scattered and all over the place, right? And doing all the things and thinking you're gaining momentum, but you're really getting more underwater, right? The reason is because there's something blocking your success, right? Maybe it's a fear of something, right? Maybe it's a belief that I have to work harder in order to deserve more income. Whatever it is, there's a lot of things. I go over all of this with my coaching clients, but I do have free resources for you, because if you don't overcome what's holding you back, even the greatest visions will just continue to be out there further and further. All right. So go to my website, joesovatraining.com, and check out the free resources to get past what's holding you back, so that you can implement what we talked about today. And you can take these steps to create that leadership mindset for your business and for your success and for all of those that you can impact in this world. All right. So check that out today, joesovatraining.com, subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.